Welcome back. I'm Andrea McGurran with KHTY TV and News. This is Global Perspectives. Crimes against humanity and war crimes, what you need to know. Crimes against humanity and war crimes, something most of us hopefully will never experience. But for some, it's a horrific and terrifying way of life. For many, it's a slow, painful, and inhumane death sentence. The UN, the organization that was made to stop such crimes, has failed again and again to stop it. Remember, the UN supports terrorism. The UN never helped anyone. Remember Rwanda, Syria, and Egypt? But before we get started, please subscribe and click the like bell. Your support is appreciated. Keep watching and listening on RSS and YouTube for more episodes analyzing the world and current events. Okay, let's continue with crimes against humanity and war crimes, what you need to know. A young Ukrainian soldier survived countless days of torture, starvation, humiliation, electrocutions, and being buried alive. His torturers thought they could end him quickly in the most cruel and sadistic way. They slit his throat. They buried him alive. They hoped he'd bleed out in his final moments of extreme panic, terror, and hopelessness. They thought their crimes would remain in the shadows. However, that brave young man, barely out of his teens, crawled out of the grave and spent 5 days crawling through Russian-occupied territory to the safety of Ukrainian forces. What he recounted was unimaginable. Ukrainian soldiers weren't just tortured, they were mutilated alive. Lips were sliced off, genitals were carved off, ears and noses removed. Can you imagine the pain and suffering? Can you imagine being permanently deformed and unable to function as a human being? Teeth were pulled, fingers were broken. And for what? What possible confession could anyone give under such circumstances? It's been long known that such torture doesn't give honest responses. Most will say anything to stop the pain. But many of these Ukrainian soldiers were young men and women whose lives were ahead of them until Russia invaded. During the Russian invasion, soldiers weren't just captured and tortured. Men, women, children, and babies suffered similar fates. One Russian soldier's call to family back home was to boast about how he was taught by the Russian intelligence services to torture anyone to get information. The method was beyond anything that even the most demonic among us could create. Barbed wire stuffed into orifices and pulled out slowly to not only cause the maximum amount of pain and suffering, but because of the very structure of barbed wire, tore people apart from the inside out. Why? Why? Russia is not alone in its crimes against humanity and war crimes. Hamas and other terror groups participated in one of the largest, longest, and highest numbers of perpetrators in a terror attack in recent human history. October 7. Daesh, also known as ISIS or ISIL, tortured, mutilated, raped, and abused countless people of all ages, not because they needed to know something, but because they enjoyed what they were doing. When I hear about the horrors in Myanmar, the horrors in other nations, when I witness or know of those who suffered the hidden crimes against humanity, even in Canada, I fully understand how easily these crimes can be committed. As Shoah, Holocaust, October 7, Kosovan, Armenian, Nigerian, Congolesian, Iranian, and other survivors can attest to, even the mental torture does serious and permanent damage. I know because I am a survivor, but not all torture, cruelty, sadism, and other connected experiences are seen as crimes against humanity, even war crimes. Human trafficking, a coined name to make it appear that slavery was abolished, is a crime against humanity. Many countries, first, second, and third world abuse human rights. Many are kept hidden. Many are squashed, and victims are blamed. I can attest to many of us are never heard, never rescued, never supported, and either have to heal ourselves or, sadly, as some do, end their pain through suicides. The crimes being ignored in modern Europe, the UK, and Ireland attest to a systemic plan to avoid responsibility, placate the attackers, and leave victims either dead or as the walking dead. For those who've had the courage to come forward and force their countries and the international community to punish the criminals that caused their suffering, bravo! But not all of us will get justice in this life. If this sounds like a speech from the movie Gladiator, well, those words came from people who suffered in the real world. Stonings, crane hangings, and many other types of crimes against humanity exist. Child survivors denied justice because of judicial laziness and unjust laws. Child survivors told it happened over there, but not here. It's over. Get over it. You're too young. These are the injustices, crimes against humanity perpetrated daily in first world countries, globally by police, teachers, doctors, counselors, and social workers. It's barbaric. It's inhumane. And most of them care more about animals and the environment than human beings. Crimes against humanity and war crimes don't begin during conflicts, civil unrest, wars, and riots. They happen daily in schools, hospitals, homes, police stations, prisons, and even the streets. Most people don't notice, or if they do, as they do in Canada, just leave it for someone else to deal with. A kindergarten student sexually assaulted in a school playground by a grade 7. The teacher and administrative response? He must have done something to ask for it. The victim needs counseling, but the bully, the criminal, is placated. A simple sorry is enough for the bully to avoid discipline. Parents find out through other parents, not staff. Parents who complain have their lives, reputations, and families destroyed. Police, social workers, doctors, and others join in gladly, wrongly. A child neglect and abuse survivor traverses life with inhuman boundaries, avoiding pain, too close relationships, and avoiding conflict in a constant state of hypervigilance. And the abusers continue attacking. They use their influence, wealth, and connections, politically and otherwise, to continue the abuse and neglect. If the victim is lucky, they can hide in plain sight, always watching, always aware, and never off guard. In one case, the attackers return to their home country to spread further criminal libel against the victim to the rest of their kin. They leave behind stupid people who take their word as truth, continuing the persecution of the victim. No matter where the victim goes, it's carried on by police, medical personnel, and others. The psychology of victimhood treats victims as if they create the drama, a fictional account, and as actors in a fake story. This is the mentality that many are dealing with in places like Canada. Soon the truth has been morphed by assumption makers, gossipers, and rumor mongers in uniforms and positions of authority. If this isn't a form of crimes against humanity, what is? The question we all have to ask is, what would you do if you found yourself being victimized? Would you fight back? Could you fight back? Could you escape? How? You've been listening to Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes, What You Should Know. Thanks for listening. I'm Andrea McGurran. Listen in next time to Episode 6, How the UN Protects Rogue Nations and Terrorists. To our YouTube followers, thanks for tuning in. You can find us on RSS and YouTube. We appreciate your support. Please click the notification bell. YouTube doesn't always notify you otherwise.